My husband and I were on a date when his mother stormed into the restaurant and shouted, "Why didn't you invite me?" My husband apologized and pulled out a chair. Holding back my fury, I stood up and said, "You two enjoy, because I'm done with this marriage." The entire restaurant went silent. A 34 female was married to a man, let's call him Eli, 38 male, for 6 years. We met through mutual friends and got married after 2 years of dating. At first, everything felt normal, comfortable. He was respectful, funny, and kind. He listened. Or at least, it seemed like he did. We never really fought in the beginning, except when it came to his mother. Let's call her Helen. Now I want to say this up front. I tried. I really tried. I know people say that all the time, but I honestly did. I never had issues with anyone's parents before. I'm not confrontational. I keep to myself. I bake pies during the holidays. I remember birthdays. I go out of my way to be thoughtful. But Helen? From day one, she was cold. Like she already made up her mind about me before I said a word. The kind of woman who sizes you up in 5 seconds and locks in a judgment that never changes. When Eli introduced me to her the first time, she didn't even smile. Just stared me up and down and said, "You're taller than I expected." I laughed it off. Figured she was nervous or something. It only got worse from there. She'd make little digs like, "Oh, you don't wear makeup? That's brave. That's the dress you're wearing? Huh, you didn't use my recipe for the stuffing?" She'd drop by our house without calling. Once, she came by on a Sunday morning and let herself in using the spare key Eli had given her. I was in a bathrobe. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I used to wear things like that before I got married, too." I asked Eli, begged him, to set boundaries. He always said, "She means well. She's just old-fashioned. She's trying in her own way." No, she was trying to control. But Eli wouldn't see it. Or maybe he did, and just didn't care. Over time, I noticed how much power she had over him. He wouldn't make major decisions without asking her. If we were planning a trip, he'd call her to make sure the dates didn't conflict with anything she had going on. I couldn't even buy a new couch without her opinion being looped in somehow. She criticized everything I did, from how I folded towels to how I made eggs. And Eli? He never once told her to back off. He would just smile, sit back, and let me take it. Last month, Eli came home from work and said he had a surprise. He made a reservation at Luca's Trattoria, the same place we went on our first anniversary. He said he wanted to reconnect. Things had been rough, and we hadn't had real alone time in a while. I was surprised. In a good way. Maybe he finally saw the cracks. Maybe he was ready to put us first again. So I got ready. Took my time with my makeup. Wore that black wrap dress he used to compliment all the time. I even curled my hair. We got to the restaurant. It was dimly lit, warm, full of couples talking in low voices. It felt like one of those rare nights where things might actually turn a corner. We ordered drinks. We even laughed about something dumb, his coworker mixing up a Zoom meeting. The waiter brought over fresh bread and butter. And then it happened. We were mid-conversation when I heard a sharp voice from behind. "Why didn't you invite me?" It cut through the room like a knife. Every head turned. I looked up. And there she was. Helen, in a leopard print blouse, heavy makeup, carrying one of those oversized purses that looks like it could hold a bowling ball. Standing in the middle of Luca's, glaring at us like we had committed a crime. Eli froze. "Mom?" She walked over like she owned the place. "You told me you were staying in tonight. You didn't say you were coming here. I told you I wanted to try this place." I couldn't speak. My jaw clenched. My heart pounded in my ears. She turned to me and said, "You didn't think I'd want to be included? It's very selfish of you." And then, Eli did it. He looked at her, then looked at me, and pulled out the empty chair. "Just sit, Mom. It's fine." I stared at him, hoping, praying, that he was joking. But he wasn't. He waved at the waiter and asked for another place setting. That was it. I stood up, calmly. But inside, everything was boiling. I said, in a voice I didn't recognize as mine, "You two enjoy, because I'm done with this marriage." And I walked out. The restaurant went silent. I don't mean a few people looked up. I mean everyone stopped talking. Even the clinking of silverware stopped. I didn't turn around. I didn't look at either of them. I walked out the door and didn't stop until I reached the corner. I took out my phone, called an Uber, and went to a friend's house. I didn't go home that night. Or the next night. When I finally returned, Eli was waiting. He looked stunned. Like I had been the one who ruined the night. Like I was the unreasonable one. He said, "You embarrassed me." I said, "You chose her." He tried to backtrack. Said he didn't want to make a scene. That she would have caused more trouble if he told her to leave. That he didn't know what else to do. I said, "You could have stood up. Like a husband. Like a man. Like someone who gives a damn about his wife." He said nothing. Now, I'm not someone who acts on emotion without thinking. But this wasn't just one dinner gone wrong. This was years of being made small, of being pushed aside, of being expected to smile and get over it every single time. I started planning my next moves. Quietly, carefully. I didn't rush. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stopped engaging. I went silent. No more conversations. No more pretending. I began separating everything: finances, accounts, passwords. I met with a lawyer. I gathered documents. I took pictures of everything in the house that I bought with my money. I changed my direct deposit. I opened a new bank account. I got a P.O. box. I found a new apartment. I started building the exit. And Eli? He still acted like things were fine. Like that dinner was just an overreaction. I stopped sleeping in the same bed. Stopped making meals. He barely noticed. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. I don't know. But I do know this. Helen has no idea what's coming. After the restaurant incident, I stayed quiet. I needed time. I needed space. Eli, on the other hand, acted like nothing had happened. The day after I returned home, I found him playing video games on the couch like it was just any Saturday. He looked at me and said, "You feeling better?" I didn't answer. He said, "You know how she gets. It's easier just to let her come along than deal with the drama." I stood there staring at him, wondering if he even heard himself. I didn't respond. I just walked past him. And from that moment on, I was done pretending. No more talking it through. No more asking him to set boundaries. I already did all that. This time, I wasn't going to ask. I was going to act. I started making copies of everything: bank records, receipts, emails, texts. You know what helped? The fact that I handled most of our finances. Joint savings? All my deposits. Rent? Paid through my account. Credit cards? Mine. I even spotted most of the down payment on the condo. You know what else I found? That Eli had been sending Helen money. Small amounts at first, $100 here, $150 there. But it added up. I saw a transfer labeled "Mom's refund for car repairs." Another one that said "Helen groceries." Even one marked "Reimburse Mom for brunch." I never agreed to that. Never even knew. When I asked him about it casually, he said, "She's done so much for us. It's the least I can do." Us? She did nothing for us. She sabotaged us. I added those screenshots to the folder. Here's where the story takes a turn. One morning, while Eli was in the shower, I heard his phone buzz. I wasn't snooping, but I saw the notification. It was a message from his mother in their group chat. "Did you tell her yet?" My stomach dropped. I opened the chat. Helen had sent multiple messages. "She's going to find out eventually. You said you'd tell her last week. It's not fair to keep hiding it. I'm tired of the lying." There were no other names in the group chat. Just Helen. Just Eli. I stood there holding the phone, heart racing. What the hell were they hiding? When he came out of the shower, towel around his waist, I didn't yell. I didn't throw the phone. I just handed it to him. He went pale. "Read it," I said. He didn't. He just sat down on the bed and put his face in his hands. "I was going to tell you," he mumbled. "Tell me what, Eli?" And then it came out. He admitted that Helen had moved into an apartment 2 floors below ours, 6 months ago. She hadn't told me because she didn't want to make it weird. She wanted to be closer to her son and keep an eye on things. Let me say that again. This woman had been living in our same building 2 floors down for 6 entire months. She watched me come and go. She probably watched from her balcony. She saw when I left for work. Saw when I came back. And never once said a word. And Eli helped her move in. Helped her find the unit. Helped her carry the boxes. And then lied to me for half a year while she crept around the building like some uninvited spy. I was speechless. I couldn't even think straight. He said, "She just wanted to be nearby." I didn't think it was a big deal. Not a big deal? Your mother lives in the same damn building, Eli. You let her stalk me and then lied to my face every day for 6 months. I packed a bag that night and left. Since then, I've been preparing. Like I said earlier, I found an apartment. 1 bedroom. Quiet. No mothers in sight. My lawyer's been incredible. We're going through everything slowly, cleanly, by the book. But Helen? She's not taking it well. I started getting emails from her. Some passive-aggressive. Some flat-out aggressive. Here are just a few. "Marriage is about forgiveness. Not throwing tantrums. You're punishing him for being a good son. You'll regret this when you're old and alone." I didn't reply. She also showed up outside my new building. Yes, she found it. She stood on the sidewalk, looking up like she was summoning demons with her stare. When I didn't come down, she sent me a text. "Running won't fix your attitude problem." I showed my lawyer. "We're documenting everything. Eli, to his credit, hasn't been chasing me. But I know he's still talking to her every day. He probably still doesn't get it. Here's where things got even messier. My lawyer found something while going through our property history. Helen's name is on the condo. Apparently, when we bought it, Eli listed her as a silent investor to help with the down payment. But here's the thing, I paid most of the deposit. The paperwork was filed through her friend who works at a real estate office. I never saw the fine print. They added her name to the title. I never knew. So now, it's me versus Eli and Helen, and she technically has a claim on our home. Which means, she could try to block me from selling it, or try to force Eli to keep it. My lawyer says we can fight it. We're building a case. There's a paper trail. Proof of payments. But the fact that he signed that without telling me? He was planning this long before the restaurant. Maybe from the beginning. So, I thought I had reached the peak of betrayal when I found out Helen was living 2 floors below me. Turns out, I was wrong. I didn't even know how deep this went until this week. I thought I was just dealing with a boundary-obsessed mother-in-law and a weak husband. I didn't realize I was in the middle of something way more calculated. 2 days ago, Eli texted me asking to meet. He said he wanted to talk about how to end things peacefully. For once, he sounded serious. So I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop, not Luca's, don't worry. He showed up with a folder. Said, I brought some papers. Nothing legal. Just something to make the split smoother. I didn't touch them. I asked, what are these? He hesitated. It's just a quick property settlement. My mom's lawyer helped put it together. Just so we're all clear on who gets what. I opened the folder. Scanned the first page. My heart sank. It was a quitclaim deed, transferring my interest in the condo to Helen. He said, you won't have to worry about the place anymore. You're moving out anyway, right? This just settles it. Clean break. I stared at him for a solid 10 seconds before saying anything. You want me to hand over my home to your mother? She already helped pay for it. I said, I paid most of the down payment. He shrugged. Yeah, but it's complicated now. I closed the folder, got up, and walked out. I didn't say a word. When I gave the folder to my lawyer, her jaw actually clenched. Where did he even get this? I told her Helen's lawyer drafted it. She flipped through the pages. This isn't just a quick settlement. This is a trap. If you had signed this, you'd be giving up any right to that property. Permanently. With no compensation. She leaned back in her chair. You're not divorcing a man. You're divorcing a team. A mother-son business operation. So I started connecting the dots. I went through emails, receipts, even conversations I had forgotten about. And something clicked. Back when we bought the condo, Helen insisted we use her friend's real estate office. She said, they'll give you a better rate. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I trusted Eli to handle it. Now I know that office is not licensed anymore. Shut down for shady deals involving forged documents. Guess who signed the closing paperwork? Only Eli and Helen. They left me off entire sections of the contract. They told me it was standard stuff and didn't require my signature. It's not legal, but it's dirty. My lawyer's working on getting everything reviewed by a property fraud investigator. If we can prove intent, we might have a case for fraud. Here's the latest twist. And this one actually made me laugh. Apparently, Helen tried to list the condo for sale last week. Without me knowing. A neighbor texted me, confused, saying, I saw a for sale sign outside your unit. Are you moving? I checked online. Boom. My address was listed. Open house scheduled. Contact number? Helen's cell. I called the agent listed. He was confused. Said he was hired by the co-owner and financial contributor. Said she told him the other party, me, was already bought out. I immediately forwarded that to my lawyer. Now Helen's being investigated for fraudulent listing activity. After the failed quitclaim trap, Eli started blowing up my phone. First it was long texts about how hurt he is. Then he switched to guilt. You're throwing away everything we built. Then came anger. You're ruining my life because you're mad at my mom. I didn't respond. He called 11 times in one night. Left a voicemail crying. You don't understand. She was the only one there for me when I had nothing. She gave me everything. And now you're taking it all away from her. That told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't just married to Eli. I was married to him and Helen. And I was the third wheel all along. The condo is on hold due to the investigation. Nobody can sell it until ownership is clarified. My lawyer is prepping for a full divorce filing and property dispute. I've started therapy. Weekly. I didn't realize how broken I felt until I left that house. Helen is under watch. If she pulls another stunt like the fake sale, we'll file criminal charges. There's more I haven't shared yet. Things I've discovered about Eli's bank accounts. Things I'm pretty sure Helen doesn't even know I know. That part's coming soon. This isn't over. Not even close. At this point, the legal battle was underway. The divorce was in motion. The property dispute was a nightmare. And Helen had already made a failed attempt to list my condo for sale behind my back. But it still wasn't over. Because some people don't go down quietly. It was a Thursday night. I was at my new apartment eating takeout when I got a text from Eli. Can you come to dinner at Mom's? One time. To talk. I didn't respond right away. I sat with it. Something about the tone felt off. Too calm. Too rehearsed. My gut was screaming. But I agreed. Why? Because I wanted them both to say it all out loud. No more hiding behind texts or fake documents. I wanted to see them squirm face to face. I needed it for closure. For myself. I got there early. 7 p.m. sharp. Helen opened the door, all smiles like nothing had ever happened. Her place smelled like meatloaf and entitlement. She said, "Glad you came. We can be adults about this." I didn't smile. Eli was already there, sitting at the table, looking tired and worn down. Like someone who hadn't slept right in weeks. Good. We sat. Dinner was quiet at first. Then Helen cleared her throat. We wanted to talk about the condo. About what's fair. Fair? I almost laughed. She continued, "You were never financially prepared to buy something like that. Eli and I made it happen. It only makes sense that we protect our investment." Eli nodded slightly. It was never meant to go this way. I put my fork down. You mean the way where you lie about her living in the building? Forge my signature? And try to trick me into signing my property over with a fake quitclaim? Helen frowned. Don't be dramatic. And that was it. Something snapped at me. I stood up. You think this is about property? This is about how you both disrespected me every day for 6 years. You never saw me as family. You never even saw me as real. Eli said, I tried no. You hid behind her your entire life. You never really left her house. You just brought it into mine. Helen stood now too. You don't understand how hard he's had it. I gave him everything. I looked at her, then at him. And he gave it all to you. Even when he promised it to me. Then I pulled out a folder of my own. The same one my lawyer helped me put together. Bank statements. Payment records. Proof that I had paid for 87% of the condo directly. I dropped it on the table. That's the truth. Right there. You can spin stories, but numbers don't lie. Silence. Eli's face dropped. He didn't even open the folder. He just stared at it like it might bite him. Helen said, "This is unnecessary. You're being vindictive." That's when it happened. Suddenly, a voice spoke behind me. She's not being vindictive. She's telling the truth. It was Helen's sister, Aunt Marie. I hadn't seen her come in. She must have arrived while we were shouting. Apparently, she had been looped into all of this by my lawyer, who subpoenaed Helen's financials, some of which were tied to Marie through a family trust. Marie walked in, arms crossed. Do you want to tell her, Helen? Or should I? Helen froze. I said, tell me what? Marie looked at me. The money Helen used to help with the down payment? It wasn't hers. It was from a trust fund left by her late husband, meant for younger family members. You know, like grandchildren. She wasn't supposed to touch it. She forged documents to get it released. I only found out because your lawyer reached out and asked me to verify the funds. My stomach turned. Eli whispered, is that true? Helen stayed silent. Marie dropped the final hammer. If this gets reported, and it will, she could be looking at fraud charges. Helen screamed. Actually screamed. You're destroying this family. You brought an outsider into our home and now look what's happened. Eli stood up and yelled back. You did this, Mom. You lied. You made me lie. You ruined everything. She slapped him. Right there, in front of me and Marie. He didn't react. Just stood there, red-faced, shaking. I picked up my folder and calmly turned to leave. Before I walked out, I said, you two can keep your lies. But you're not keeping my life. Or my name. Or my future. And I left. The next day, my lawyer filed to freeze the condo's title completely. Helen's accounts were flagged for investigation. Marie agreed to testify if needed. Eli emailed me to apologize, said he didn't know about the trust fund, that he was sorry for everything. I didn't reply. Instead, I signed the final divorce papers, had them delivered to his new P.O. box, and changed my last name back the next day. It's been 3 months since that night. I live in a smaller apartment now. No fancy countertops. No shared mortgage. But it's mine. I sleep better. I laugh louder. I cook dinner in silence without being judged for how I slice vegetables. Sometimes I look back and feel angry at the years I lost, at how blind I was. But mostly, I feel grateful. Because I got out. And if you're reading this while wondering if you should walk away from someone who never stood up for you, here's your sign.